I have a question. I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Okay, last time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the privilege to again be your host for this webinar. Um, okay, let me share screen too. Please, if you can see my screen, let me know. Can you see my screen?
It's still loading for me.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, thank you all for once again joining us, and especially to my special invited guests. Thank you all for showing up today. Once again, I'm Charles Cranston from Ghana. I'm a talent acquisition specialist with Global Managed Services. I have a background in mentoring uh, with Global Managed Services to mentor BI Pathway students, as well as a career coach to help BI Pathway students prepare for job opportunities. All right. So without further ado, I'll just continue since you are already familiar with me. When we are moving on, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat or write them down so that I don't forget. I would address questions after the session is done, just to save time. Okay. Okay, so these are the discussing job interviews. We discuss more about what job interviews really are, the types of job interviews we have, what to do before, during, and after a job interview. And this is very, very important because all of you here are have either recently gotten a remote job or are preparing for an internship, and you may be interviewed. Far too often, we really don't see our students being really prepared for job interviews, especially remote job interviews. And so we hope you take this really seriously and work on them. Sometimes some of you may really perform well in the job interview, but there's some etiquettes that you people don't practice that may disqualify you. And we may talk about some of them, excuse me, as we move forward. Right. Okay, so we'll be talking about what job interviews are right now. Okay, so job interviews are interviews between job applicants, someone who is interested in a certain job and they've applied for it, and a representative of an employer, like a recruiter, to assess whether the job applicant is a good fit for the role being filled. Okay, so a job interview is usually the most important part of a job search. It's the time where the employer gets to really know about your skills and capabilities if you're a really good fit. Your resume helps you get an interview, but the interview helps you get the job. Okay, so it's very, very important. And last week we talked about how to tweak your resumes to be able to get a job interview. Now, assume you've gotten a job interview. So what next? I mean, yeah, it's to learn about how to be very effective during the job interview. Now, there are a lot of job interview types, different types. Some of you might have seen a few of them already. Can some of you, anyone, just tell me some job interviews they're familiar with?
Yes, I will say we are familiar with. First of all, my name is Richard Sam. the type of job interview I'm familiar with is a visual job interview.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you say virtual? What do you mean? A remote or what? Yes.
Okay. What I mean, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
What I mean by visual job interview, like the one we are doing now, maybe in a Zoom kind of setting,
Okay.
as in
Yeah.
the applicant is not visual, is not present at the premises.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
an
So
online
that's
on a Zoom. Thank you.
all right, thank you. That's a remote job interview and a online job interview. Yes, thank you. Next person, we have Foster and then Godwin.
Okay, so my name is Foster Gianna speaking from Ghana. So personally, I know of two, which is
Just
one-on-one
mention
interview.
one
Okay,
so
that
that
is
someone.
panel interview, where you
Okay.
have a group of board meeting up with an employer.
All right, thank you. Godwin.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Charles. So actually, for me, I have experience in-person interview and then online interviews. It was just recently that
Okay, thank you. I just needed the
oh,
types. Let's move to planche.
So I'm Planch from Ghana. So I also say lunch interview. Sometimes people go on lunch interviews. So yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, that would be more of an informational interview kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Great. Thank you all for your input. Great. So let's move on and let's see. So these are the types of interviews that we have. We have phone interview, and that doesn't really happen in Africa here, but in the United States and other developed nations, sometimes they just call you on phone, especially when you've been recommended for a role. The first line is just to call you, ask you a couple things to see if you're a good fit for them to then move to the next step. And this one's usually, it's not scheduled. So that's when you should always be prepared when you talk more about preparing. Some of you know me in 30 seconds and all that. You may be caught off guard. We have recorded computer interview or one-way interview. This is very popular with Bloom. Those who have applied for a couple of jobs with Bloom, you'll be asked to record a couple things. Maybe there'll be some questions and you have to just say something and upload. Now, the purpose for this is to make their work much easier. It's all part of the screening. Usually it comes before an actual job interview. Sometimes they just look at that and then decide whether or not to call you for an actual interview. This is usually when the company has lots and lots of applications. And sometimes this is all they need. So it's very important you treat it as a professional job interview. Although it's just remote, some people, well, because it's just recording, some people don't treat it that professional. But I talk more about that. We have, even there's an experience I had recently when I was just I had to talk to some people and they had recorded videos and I had to them. And then if the company was going to hire some people, so I was just there maybe in the night and then they gave that instruction, but I was already done with work. So I started work the next day very late, around let's say 3 p.m. And they needed me to interview some people during the day because that same day, 3 to 5 p.m., they'll need final results for other big people to interview them for some positions. What did I do? I didn't see the information early. If I had seen it early, I would have scheduled with them that evening. So then the daytime, I would interview them. And in the evening, I'll just push them to whoever is going to do the next line of work. But I was late in seeing that. Do you know what I did? I just looked at the video people submitted and I made my decision. And I put the rest was just history. I didn't meet anyone face to face, so it's very, very important sometimes to treat this very seriously. Okay. All right. We have the online job interviews that some of you did, have face to face or in person job interviews, have panel. Some of you mentioned panel, some of you mentioned face to face, some of you mentioned online. Then there's skill test. Now, Global Managed Services typically adopts this for internal positions. So if you, some of you are indexers here. Now, if you are going for a managerial position or maybe I think a team lead position also, there is this skill test that they do as well. But sometimes this skill test are also reserved for specific industries like the tech industry or the engineering industry to test your skills beforehand. Because it's really hard to tell if someone is a good fit for a role just by looking at their resume and just by talking to them. So sometimes the skill test is one way to do it. Okay, before an interview, what you should do, how you should prepare for a job interview. So just throwing the question back to all of you, just a couple people, what do you think you need to do to prepare for a remote job interview?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I think you need to practice how to say your power statements. That's one of
I it's hard to hear you.
Okay. You need to prepare to say your power statement.
Yeah, that's right. Very important. Let's go to Chris.
Okay. So I think one of the important things is also to go through the job description again and get yourself abreast with the words used, the roles that you are going to do. So I think when you do that, you'll be able to tailor, tailor your answers to their questions.
That's correct. Let's go to, let me see, Christian.
All right. So for you to prepare for job interview, you need to go through the job posting, their website to know what they actually do.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Let me give Perekela the opportunity, and then the rest of you move on. The rest of you can engage in other questions I'll ask as well. And sorry, I couldn't give you all the opportunity. So please, Perekela. If they are not ready, let's have who else is on this app?
Hello,
Ada.
good evening.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think one way to prepare for an interview is basically getting yourself ready from the scratch. What I mean from the scratch is understanding what the organization or the industry stands for and the work you're expected to put in, having that drive. I think that will give you enough motivation and knowledge, rather, to know what you're going into. Most times you can be asked some questions that you're not really prepared for, but because you have a motivation and you have a drive for that industry and that particular kind of work and the organization, you'll be fit to answer appropriately the questions that are directed to you. That is my little understanding.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you all for your contribution. I'll give you a chance another time. Thank you, Godwin and Ada and Foster. I'll give you a chance later. All right. Okay, so one thing, so as some of you said, is to research the company. Now, it's very important whichever company some of you are going to have the externship with or a job with, search usually, I mean, you know that you are going to be working with this company, research the company, be familiar with their mission, vision, core values. You can do this by checking on their website or talking with an employee or even checking on the company's LinkedIn page. Okay, you get more about what they stand for. Then you plan on how you let them know your values align with their mission and values. Now, this is very simple, but this is something people don't know. It's a golden tip I'm going to give you all right. Every recruiter, when they are hiring for a specific company, what they are really looking for is someone who has the same values the company has or the mission. Every company has, sometimes when you go to some companies, you see they write their mission statement and their values and things like that. What they really want are people who can fit into that. And so you have to try to get to know that and then find ways to let them know. You don't have to say, I know your mission is this, and that's the same mission. But you find a way, and mention those points, and mission and values and core values and things like that. That's very important to the company. Then also think about creating some questions, and facing the company, like key issues. As you research the company, as you look at their website, as you look at some things, you may see a pattern. Maybe there's a challenge that the company is facing here. Maybe you look at their maybe annual report or something. You find questions around that or responses. And you see, really, what every employer wants is someone who's a problem solver, someone who's a critical thinker, someone who can add to the company without them even joining the company, yet they've thought about something else. So it's very, very important to do that. Let me share maybe 2 experiences with you. Let me start with the first one, myself and Skep Foundation. So some of you might, I met Skep Foundation, was it last year, last 2 years, during the BI Management Society's networking event that was held in Accra, but broadcasted across West Africa or Africa in general. I met Kate, we talked a bit, and then, we scheduled a meeting to meet and work on this worker readiness program. And before I got in that meeting, you know what I did? I went to their website to sign up for the sign up for to join the ecosystem. And I realized that something there wasn't really in good shape. That's the guide to the Google coordinates and things like that. Those who have their student there, have to find your Google coordinates and then you click on a link and then a document opens. It wasn't well structured then. There was this pencil marks and all that. So before our first meeting, I tried to find a solution to that. I sat down, I redrafted the whole thing and with guides and things like that. And I presented it to kids in my first meeting. They were like, great, really great job. And they quickly replaced it with their then current one. So whatever I see there is something I created even before I did an official first meeting with her. I came with something, a plan to help solve a problem, internal problem. So this is what we are talking about. Always try to find solutions. And people love people who are problem solvers and not always complaining. Okay, I wanted to share the other story too, but because of time, I'll just skip. Now, research the recruiter. Learn as much as you can about the interviewer. Sometimes it impresses them, it wows them when you say things about them that they didn't know about or something. So it's very, very important. Whenever you get an invite to a job interview, LinkedIn is your best friend. Go there, research them, their job title, read a little bit about them, their educational background, their passion, their hobbies, what they stand for. And you can tie your conversation with them to that in a way. For example, when I was interviewing for this position, I was interviewed by two people. It should have been three, but I skipped one line. So the second person, which is the vice president of the company, it's kind of now the CEO basically, because John and Eric, some of you who know them are just there, and the vice president is the one in charge of the company. So when I was going to meet him, I researched him on LinkedIn and everything, and I got to know he has this mission to help bridge the world's needs to fix the world problems and to do this, da 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 da. And I got to know he likes music and da da da. So in my presentation to him, tell me more about yourself and things like that. I'm like, da da da. Like you, I also have have a goal to make the world a better place and da 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 da. And I see we share the same values and da 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 da. And it's it will impress that person, and when you link it to them, it makes sense. So really, it's better you research the person, you get to know something about them, you try to tie their values to your values, because really sometimes what they stand for is what they look in candidates, right? I stand for honesty. That means I'm looking for someone who is very honest. So we have to always look at things like that and try to connect to that. Right. Review the job description, very, very important. Again, look at the skills and talents and qualifications they are looking for, because that's something they are going to look at to judge you or to determine if you are the best candidate for the role. So always it's very appropriate to look at these things. Review if there isn't a job description like we touched base on last week. Always go to the internet, search for job descriptions for similar roles. You see 3 or 4, look at common job descriptions and yeah, get yourself familiar with it. Some people join the job interview, they have no idea what the job is all about, but they applied for it. So you wonder if they really knew what they were applying for. Sometimes you'll be caught off guard. If you really research the job description, that's how you are able to plan accordingly. The things you say, the things they are looking for. Right. Okay, now matching your skills. Now you're going to be given times to talk about yourself and everything. Before you start, you sit down, match your skill to what they are looking for in the job description. This template on the right is from the career development or career success course in BI Idaho and Ensign College. So it helps you. First of all, there's the education section. The left side, you write the education and training the employer wants, the degree, certificate, da, 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 da. And then you look at what you have and you match it. You look at the experience they want. They want someone with 5 years experience in graphic designing and maybe experience in InDesign, experience in Excel, you da, 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 da. Which ones you have, you put it on the side, the skill. So you match this and you see if you're a really good match, and you keep that in your head as you're preparing to engage with them. Then you use that to prepare your power statements. Again, your power statement isn't only for resumes like we talked about last week, but you should also use them in your interviews. Use power or accomplishment statements. And power statements are brief statements that highlights the values you bring to an organization. What you want is value, what you can bring to us. Okay. It showcases your expertise to make it easier for people to see how you may benefit their company. You build power statements by, again, starting with an action verb, what you did, result, impact, or quantity, quantified, just like a resume. So this strategy, if you learn that, you can use it anywhere in the world. You can use it on your resume, you can use it in interviews, you can use it on your LinkedIn profile. When you list, remember, just the same way, don't list just your responsibilities on your LinkedIn profile. you list your accomplishments and use this power statement to do that. And use that same power statement in marketing. Can use the same power statement in bargaining, in negotiation, in almost everywhere that you need to prove something. And even with your children, you can use power statement and, and use that to show them just your testimony. Use power statement. You did this, da da da, and the results, the impacts, what the Lord gave you, and all that. So power statements are very powerful. You can use them almost anywhere. Again, you use the same template, which is again found in that course you did. Some of you have done that that course. So I want you to go back, look for these resources, keep them somewhere. What I've noticed, like I mentioned last week, sometimes we do courses and we think we are just doing it for the course sake, and we just throw it away and we continue with what we were doing previously. I did not do this course because of my career, my path, but I still have this resource. Okay. I always go back, sit down when I want to write anything. So it's very important. Your resume templates, we talked about that last week. Always go back to those things you learned in the courses. Okay. Now, how to prepare a mean 30-second statement. It's more of a power statement, but a short version. We usually call it the elevator pitch. Why? In context, it's like meeting Bill Gates or Elon Musk and just having a brief moment with him. Maybe in an elevator, is going to the next floor and you said, hey, I'm Charles, or hey, Foster, or hey, Christian. What do you do? Who are you? Tell me a little bit about yourself and why you think maybe I should work with you or something. You should have something there in shortest possible time to catch their attention. Yeah. And I remember kind of a similar thing with Kate. When we met the other time, we were just basically preparing food for those people, and Kate just leaned to me and said, hey, what's your name? Da da da, what do you do? Da 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 da. And I mentioned things that connected with what Skep Foundation was doing. I was doing this, da da da, and that time Skep Foundation was creating the work readiness program. Okay, I was creating a course on LinkedIn, how to build your LinkedIn profile, called the LinkedIn Profile Pro. I was actually creating that on Canvas, the same Canvas you might be using on a BI Pathway portal, and things like the career preparing thing. So she saw it was connected to her vision, and she said, hey, we have this work readiness program and we are building a course on LinkedIn. Why don't you meet up with us next week and let's see how we can work together on this? I said, sure. And then we met. I wrote a 9-page review of the LinkedIn course for the record readiness program. Those who did the Excel, the course via Google Forms. I wrote a 9-page review of all that with some screenshots and things like that. So really, it could have been just 4 pages without the screenshots. And everything was approved. Okay, they said, great. Why don't we give him a Skep Foundation account, let him go in, change things himself, da 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 da. And I got closer to Skep because I had something short, simple that will catch their attention, that will still led to what they have, their vision and motivation. Okay, so how do you do that? You can always start with a simple name, a job you are looking for if you are looking for a job, why you are good at what you do. Okay, so this. Always add qualifications or quantifications. So I am someone who is passionate about helping BI pathway students, da 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 da, and I'm good at it because I've helped this number of BI pathway students, da 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 da, and I really want a place to showcase this skill or grow in this space. Is there anyone you know that needs some help like this, whether voluntary or paid position? always be open to volunteer roles and things like that as well. So that's one way you can. And VMOC again, like we talked about last week, it also have a session where it can prepare you to write or prepare me in 30 seconds. You can actually engage with it and it will tell you, okay, you have to improve here, da, da, da. And then keep that in your mind. Anytime anyone can call you on it. Or you'll be talking with someone, even a area 70 just approaches you, your state president, and say, hey, that's my friend, how you talk to them. It all counts. It may not only be used in business settings, but in church, in calling your family, in talking to impressing the men here, impressing your girlfriend's family when they ask you, yeah, who are you? Tell me a bit about yourself. And the father's glasses is like this, looking at you, and you have to impress them. You have to use this to impress them. Okay, so yeah. Okay, now it's very good to prepare for interview questions. There are some frequently asked questions, simple like, tell me about yourself, why should I hire you? Things like that. Just prepare. I'll show you a resource in the next page. There's a way to prepare, call a mock interview. You can meet with someone, if you have an interview, say, hey, I'm Charles, I have an interview tomorrow, but today, can you just meet with me? Let's do a little test, like a mock interview. You ask me a couple questions in this industry. These are some questions I've researched. Can you ask me these questions, or you can ask me different questions, and then you talk with them. You can also, again, go back to VMOC. So VMOC is very diverse. It also has mock interview resources. It can help you prepare for an interview. It will basically ask you questions, and you answer it, and the AI interprets your answers if it's a really good fit for the role. Again, it's only accessible to these students at this point, Patrick Kwanegbi and college students for free. And then we have Google Interview Warm-Up. That one is accessible to everyone. We also have that one, you just search on Google Interview Warm-Up. And you select the area or the job title, and then it will also take you through an interview like that. People Grove is also for these two students. So you might want to try Google Interview Warm-Up. Okay. Review your resume and cover letter. Usually, recruiters will try to ask questions on your resume. So be familiar with that. Make sure you review that, and make sure you are able to justify anything on that. Be honest on your resume, and possibly I'll talk more about that. But carry a copy or two of your resume if it's a physical job interview. Okay, have them handy to hand to the interviewer. Just imagine you got into the room and maybe it's a panel interview like some of you said, and one person forgot to print your resume, or they printed it and they can't find it, and you reach out to your bag and say, here's a copy. Already you've impressed them. So let's always put that into consideration. Okay, technical preparation. This is very, very important before, especially a remote job interview. Before you're going for a remote job interview, make sure you test your equipment. Make sure your computer, camera, microphone, and internet connection are working properly. You can conduct a test call with someone to check your audio and video quality. I also test my internet connection first for very important meetings. How do I do that? I've told some of you before. You go to Google, you just type on Google internet speed test. Right after you do that, you see a checkbox box, you click on that, you read your internet speed and tell you if it's good or not. Because sometimes you really don't know. You think your internet connection is good, you join the call and you feel embarrassed. So always a couple minutes before you test your internet. If it's not good, you maybe try Wi-Fi. If it's not good, you have your phone, your hotspot with your phone, or have another backup. Always have a couple backups around. Okay, now familiarize yourself with the platform. If it's Zoom, if it's Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, whatever platform, make sure you check it out. Don't get there by surprise. Say, I don't really know how to use this, and you wait till the time comes and you struggle. Try to be familiar with those platforms. Mute when you're not speaking, and unmute unless there isn't background noise around. Avoid having background noise. Ensure, again, I talked about the internet connection. Always have backup plans. It's very, very important. I myself, I always have a couple backup plans. Okay, now what to do during an interview. Okay, dressing and appearance. Now, consider dressing slightly higher than what is required by the company. But oftentimes, especially for a remote job interview, a lot of people don't dress professionally. It's very sad. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they think it's remote. So I have to dress just like casual, where I'm sitting in my house. There's an interview I attended one time, and the man was not wearing anything at all. Basically, I don't know, he's probably wearing his boxer or something, and was with his phone going around, and then he laid on the bed, and you wonder, the kind of attitude that is and how they behave in an actual job environment. So it's very, very important we dress professionally. Very, very important. And it's very important you stay away from brand names and logos and things like that. Very, very appropriate for men. Always make sure your facial hair is in good shape. Depending on the company, some companies may not really appreciate facial hair. When I say facial hair, I mean beard and mustache. Okay, always make sure it's trimmed properly. It's better to be safe than sorry. The other thing with technology is to join the call on a computer, please. Most of you want to work in a remote work environment, so it's very, very important to join the call on a computer to prove you have one. It's also more professional because it's set one side, it doesn't move back and forth. And yeah, it gives you that ability to express yourself well and all that. So also look at your background, make sure you have a well-lit background. One tip is face the window, not have your window at your back. Some people always, the window will be at their back, the light will shine to the screen and it will be a bit blurry. So if possible, you rather try to face the window so the light from outside will reflect on your face and it will be more clear in that regard. Okay. Communication is very, very important. Listen very attentively, talk confidently, be teachable, be open to learning. If you don't know anything, say, hey, I don't know this, but I'm willing to learn. Take notes. Even in this course, I see some people taking notes, and very important. I know we all have very sharp memory, but the act of just writing shows a different signal to the recruiter. If you like, just be drawing. Just don't let them see you are drawing. That act of penning. So when you're going for a job interview, whether remote or in person, try to have a pen and a paper, or preferably a notebook and a paper and a pen, and you jot things down. Maybe when they're talking about the job, usually they give you a brief overview, you write that. Specific bullet points, you write that. And then ask questions. Very important, but oftentimes you be in an interview, do you have any question? Everyone is, it's not cool. So let's be open and let's ask questions. Very, very important. has to always, one way to prepare for question, you should prepare it beforehand. Sometimes you don't have any question based on what they said, but like you are preparing, learn about the company's vision, mission, learn about the recruiter, you learn about the position through the job description we talked about. Through all these, you should have at least one question. If you don't have, then at least you can ask them when to expect feedback. Interesting, not a lot of people asked, and after the interview, they then go to their friends and they're stressed. I don't know, I want to expect feedback. We didn't get any information on that. What do we do? Or you contact the recruiter when it's not your time. It will just be frustrating to them. So when you do that, two reasons. It helps you keep calm, and it helps you not to disturb the recruiter when it's not your time. And you become a problem solver and you don't add burden to them. So they may say it, but if they don't say it, always be willing to ask that. Okay. Some additional things to consider I've mentioned. I think most of these things, including switching off your phone, looking at wearing professional glasses, and like the last point, remember to ask when. Sometimes they wait for you to ask. It's very important to do that. Now, after a job interview, what do you do? Okay. Let's open it up as well. Let some people just engage. What do you think you need to do right after a job interview? Do you start work right afterwards, or what do you do? Anyone with any thought? Okay, Amarachi.
Job interview. Can you hear me?
Yes.
After a job interview, you can send a
Yeah.
thank you message to the recruiter for giving you the opportunity to have an interview with them.
Yeah, that's correct. Godwin?
Yeah, so I was, gonna, hammer on what Sister Marachi said. If it is through WhatsApp or maybe email, then you try to, show them how appreciative you are, of having the interview with them. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you too. Let's go to Kennedy. Kennedy, please. Okay, then let's move to Lois.
Okay, basically you send, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you send a follow-up email to the recruiter thanking them or him for the opportunity to be interviewed. And then you also, as part of the content of the email, you also express how you want to know the other process of the interview or the hiring process as part of your thank you email.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Lois. Because of time, I want some people who have been before. Yeah.
Okay, for me, I feel we can frequently check the method of communication to wait for feedback on the interview. If you've gotten it or you come back next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm
Thank
raising
you.
my hand here. I'm raising my hand.
Yeah, there are other people who raised their hands before you, but also because of time, I'll just end here. I'm sorry. I'll give you David Bright, Charles, and Ada another chance. Thank you all. Really hard for me, especially when you've not spoken before and I don't give you a chance. It's really hard for me, but I'll try and give you all chances again. Thank you. Okay, yes, follow up. So first follow up email, usually the thank you note. Now, it's a very excellent method to touch base with the employer to express your appreciation for the role, and also to reiterate your interest. You use that also to tell them about some things that didn't go well in the interview, or things you want to clarify on, or things like that. That's the avenue for you. Remarkably, few candidates actually write thank you notes, and maybe that's why so many employers choose to hire applicants who write or send them thank you notes. That may not be a big reason for that. I really think there isn't much correlation between that. However, I think this is a situation where it to be useful. Imagine they've hired maybe a couple of people and there's only one slot remaining, and that two candidates that are very suited for those slots. All of them probably scored the same grade. The recruiter is having a hard time knowing which of the two to hire. And one sent a beautiful thank you note, reiterating their interest and yada, yada, yada. I assume that the recruiter may lean more towards that person in that instance. I don't think it has much to do on impacting the final hiring decision. Usually it comes from the interview itself, but that can also influence in some rare cases, but you never know. So you should always be prepared for that. And it's like I said, it's a business practice that many companies anticipate receiving one, but surprisingly, very few get sent. And if you're sending one, please let it be very professional. And I'll show you an example of one. Okay, so this is how we can write one subject line. You can say thank you for your time, or thank you note, or something like that. That'll be catchy. Don't let it be too long, because they probably don't have too much time, but make sure it carries the most important things. If it's an email, remember, you can also send this via WhatsApp if the person communicated to you first via WhatsApp. But usually use the same communication method they used. If they used email, I don't expect you to use WhatsApp. It will not be that professional. So you can decide to use it and avoid using two. Maybe because you want to be professional, you want to send via email and WhatsApp. It becomes a burden, really. Choose one method. If you think they sent you via WhatsApp, but I want to still send by email, that's fine. Email is more professional, so you can still go with that. But if they sent you email, don't go WhatsApp. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. If they send WhatsApp, you can go email because more professional. But if they send email, don't go WhatsApp. But make sure you send only one. Don't send double. They'll always read. Okay. So you start your first paragraph with a thank you note, reiterating your interest and how it was great to meet them and all that. Second, talk about your interest, goals, and experience. Reiterate that, make it brief. Some things that you forgot to mention in the interview, you list them there, or you kind of reiterate them. And look for things that are in the job description, specific things you know that they are looking for again. And then last part is to set yourself apart from other candidates. How do you do that? Telling them, again, using power statements, again, telling them, action verbs, but in a paragraph form, what you did, some results. And that side too, you can use it to also make things right. I forgot this part, but I would have shown you my thank you note for my current job and how there's something that happened and how I tried to make it right. At the end, maybe if when you're asking questions, I may put it up. But this is what happened. During the job interview, I lost my internet connection. It just disappeared. And it was the final job interview, so with the vice president, and internet connection is very crucial in job interviews. Usually that's one thing that disqualifies people. Internet and not showing yourself, your video being off, background noise, professionalism issues, you easily go off. And so I was a bit frustrated. I panicked, but I got back online. I apologized. We talked. So at the end, you know what I did? I even used that to showcase some more abilities and skills I have. I said something like, again, I'm sorry about what happened. As you noted, I quickly came back online because I have a uninterrupted power supply, a backup internet router that quickly kicks in once my internet goes. I also have my phone hotspot as backup. I have a personal work phone, and I have two different computer screens. One is a laptop, one is a monitor. So once the other power is gone, I'm able to still work from the laptop with the backup router. And these are the things they need in an online work environment. They need people with this, da 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 da. And so if you're able to say, have this, that's why you and he realized I came back quickly online. It didn't take time because I had that uninterrupted power supply, special type of router, so that I guess helped. So it's also important to use that to and be professional. Some people just sir, I'm sorry, and just casual, be professional about it in a way, and it may land you the job. Yeah. Okay. So second follow-up, when do you send a second follow-up? That's a question to all of us. Those that wanted to talk earlier, you can answer, Bright, if you have any answer to that. I think there was Charles, if you have answer to that, and maybe someone else that I didn't give chance to. But if you don't have an answer to that, anyone else can answer. When do you send a follow-up? Next, second follow-up. Okay. Ada.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the opportunity. I would suggest that when one should send a second follow-up is after the due date of the feedback. Let's say you were told that you should be expecting the feedback next week, Tuesday, and then on Tuesday, you didn't get any feedback. Just give it like on Wednesday, you send them the second follow-up message. Thank you.
Spot on. Spot on. This is the only time you should send a second follow-up. So it's very, very important to always ask in a job interview when to expect feedback. If you are not told, okay, sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they'll not tell you. Always be ready to ask that. So yeah, it's very, very important to always do that. Again, the first interview before my next interview for this role, I was ready to ask that question, so ready. I didn't hear anything. And once I was about to ask, so when can I? And he said, well, you qualified for the next stage. So that was that quick. So sometimes it's that quick, but I'm always ready to ask that. I'm always ready to ask that, So because it helps you know when to follow up. Sometimes they may forget about you. Sometimes strangely, they may think they had sent you a message, but they haven't. But that is, you can only know that after you send a follow-up message, and that should be only after the specified date or range. So when sometimes they'll say by Monday or maybe by the end of the week, something, you have to always work around that. If you follow up before that, you become a burden. You want people who are problem solvers. Sometimes the person is ready to hire you, but if you're too persistent, they'll change their mind. All right. So that's the end of our presentation, and these are some additional resources I'll share with you. I'll share the file again through Michael, and Michael distribute it to your various project managers, and they would share with you. Yeah. And do some adjustment or add more content to this. So you may expect to see maybe a slight change in the presentation. Yeah. So thank you very much for coming. And again, you can ask any questions that you have at this point. Any questions? Okay, Bright.
Hello.
Bright, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for presentation. I actually enjoyed it. I have one question, and I don't know if it is a bit different from what we are discussing, but I wanted to know if there are opportunities that we can access from global managed services, and how do we access those opportunities, like the peer mentorship, and then yeah, maybe like that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah. Good question. So right now, global managed services kind of now, because of the large volume of people who want job opportunities, they work more with referrals. Okay, if global managed services has never advertised any position, Bloom has never advertised. They've advertised like just 2 positions, right? The second time the mentoring program was coming up. And so that's where you should work on your networking skills. Might talk about, maybe the next webinar will be about that, But currently, to be a mentor, you should be recommended by someone who is a mentor. So you have to engage more with your mentor, be friendly with them, reply their messages. Now, sometimes very sad. So I hear some of these mentors saying all the time, and even when I was a mentor, people don't reply to our messages, but I just come to my DM and I want a job and things like that. And that mentor has someone who really talks to them. They are very friendly with them. And the other thing is also the opportunities are not in abundance. So sometimes they'll say a mentor should recommend just 1 or 2 people, and that ton of students. So right now, that's kind of the dynamic here, but simply to network, be very close to your mentor, and that's where these things come from. Some people think, I can do something about it, and sometimes there's nothing I could do. There are a lot of people, I really wish I could help, but they say, hey, get out of here, basically. It's not your job. So yeah, that's basically the main thing here is about networking, but we'll learn more about that too in our next webinar. Okay, let's go to Amarachi. And then
Okay, my question is, what if you're invited for a job interview and the recruiter is looking for someone who has up to 5 years experience, and you don't have so much experience as the recruiter needs? So how do you convince the recruiter to hire you, that you have the skills to meet the organization's goal and also make an impact in that organization?
yeah, good. Many things here. Sometimes volunteer experience count. Like I said earlier, I think last week, about 82% of recruiters are more likely to hire someone with volunteer experience, even if there are discrepancies in their background. So you have to showcase more of your volunteer power. Talk about how other little things you've done, probably in the same role, has resulted big impact, right? If I want usually when they want someone with ADX experience or high number of years of experiences, what really they need is someone with high level expertise. And they think given that year range would ensure that the person is really experienced. So all you need to do is to showcase that you really know the job you can deliver with stats using the power statement. Okay, I led this, I did this, and this is the result. You use the power statements, and you should be an achiever. When you highlight things you've achieved, and that's what we even impress them. A young boy like this has done this in this age, then is highly capable of doing the job, regardless of that big number of experiences. So really volunteer experience and proving that you are really an expert by using convincing, using statistics or figures. I've done this, proofs, that to show you that you're really capable of the job. Thank you. Let's move to James. We come to you, Ada and Godwin, because you've talked for some time. I want to have other people to start first. So let's go to James and then go to David, Philip, and Mobile, and then come to Christian, Godwin, AAD. All right, please. James.
All right, thank you so much for the opportunity. Now, my question is, when should we start preparing for this interview? Is it when we have submitted the application or when we have been contacted? Because most times you can be contacted that same day and be given like 4 hours for the interview. How do you meet up? And then if you have prepared ahead and then you're not even being contacted, how do we balance the two?
Good points. So I would say there is a saying that, and I think it's from the scriptures, when ye are prepared, you shall not fear, right? And then the other, my favorite quote I told you, I think in my first webinar with you is, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, or the right way to say it is luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So you should always be prepared. And how do you do that? By you said first, as soon as you apply, you start preparing, you have faith. Faith without works is dead. You exercise a particle of faith. You start believing, you start working as if you've gotten the job. You start preparing. If you don't get that job, you build on that for our next job interview. At least you are prepared. So really you should just prepare as soon as possible. Sometimes it's just that immediate, and you have the upper hand if you've prepared ahead of time. And if you don't get the job, at least you prepared. And whenever an opportunity comes, you can build up that. Yeah, who was the next person? Was that Philip or David?
I think it's Philip.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Charles, for the beautiful presentation. My question goes thus. It's in line with the teaching, but it has to do with the resume, the CV. Is there a difference between CVs, like the one used in Europe to apply for jobs and the one we use here in Africa, most especially Nigeria or Ghana? So I want to know the difference when putting up CV for submission.
Okay.
Is there any particular pattern they use in Europe and a different pattern they use in Africa?
Were you in our webinar last week?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, that's why we focus heavily on that. We distinguish the difference. A resume is different from a CV, and typically a CV covers everything you've done from basically your childhood, your education, your like school, if you're a school prefect, all the jobs you've done, you put it all together in your CV. So it could be more than 2 pages, usually 2 or more pages. A resume is concise, tailored to the job, usually 1 page, and not more than 2 pages for professionals. And really, what CVs are usually used in academia, or maybe applying for a scholarship, or applying for a master's degree, or something in academia, or also a kind of for high positions like managerial roles and these things, when they know you have vast knowledge and experience. But usually this remote job market, especially in the US and Canada, although it's across the whole world, they just need a resume tailored to the job. And I believe Mobile has shared the webinar for last week in your group, and the content, the presentation. You can go through that as well to understand more about that. Thank you. Let's go to David.
I didn't see the webinar in the group.
Maybe I'm sure they will post that in the group.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, Michael will do that. You can always chat him up, or chat your project manager, and they'll reach out to Michael. I'm not sure how the whole structure is, but yeah, project manager reports Michael, I'm sure.
Yeah,
David.
thank you. That's the approach. Reach out to your project manager or lead project manager in charge of that group. And if you don't have that link, we'll send it to you or to the lead project manager as well. So that's the approach. Thank you.
Thank you too. David. David. Go
Hello.
ahead. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for this time, Skep Foundation, and specifically Mr. Charles. Sometimes you observe that some recruiters or your interviewers do not seem to be providing room after an interview for questions. So the concern I'm having is, what do you now do, and how do you now ask for the expected feedback date when you do not even, in some cases, have any means of contacting that specific interviewer after? Thank you. That's my question.
Okay. That would be hard. I know some people would say, do not follow up. They'll definitely get back to you, like some companies. When they say that, sometimes maybe they're hiring for a position that it's not ready yet, but I'll be ready maybe next month or next 2 months or next 3 months. So you'll be in their pool. If they say don't contact them, just if they state that, then just comply. Usually it will be, especially if they say you're hired, or maybe you passed and you put in your pool waiting for a position like what Bloom does. Once you are in their pool of candidates, you don't need to worry too much about that. Because if you follow up too much, you then become a burden and it can have a positive impact. But I don't know why a recruiter wouldn't give chance for you to ask questions. That I don't know which type of recruiter that is, but in that case, maybe in your follow-up, you think you email, you may say that in a nice way to craft I have at the end maybe, but I have this question I want to ask. If something nicely, please, I would want to know this, if you are available, or in your next available time, if you could answer that for me, that would be great. I'd suggest at the minimum, you can put it in your thank you note. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. And just hope they respond.
All
okay. Right. Christian, Christian and then Mobile. And then Aaron.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity. You've made mention of you knowing your employer core value before getting to an interview. So my question is, what happens to the entity who recruit to other organization without you knowing their core value when you go to the interview? How will you prepare towards that?
Yeah, but first the question is, did you check um the possible the other possible mediums to see um
Please come again.
my question, I guess, is can you see my presentation still, or you are seeing my screen?
Yeah, I can see your presentation here.
Okay, so my question is, if did you I know it's not a direct question to you, but the question to that person is, did they first check all possible ways to get the company's value and mission? Did you check
Okay, so
LinkedIn? Did you check their website? This is just a rhetorical question. You don't really need an answer. But like, did the person check LinkedIn? Did they check their website? Um, did they check maybe sometimes their LinkedIn post? By the kind of post they make, you can have an idea. Oh, they try to do this. And did you ask someone who works there? Okay, someone who works there, what are your company values? Can also connect with someone on LinkedIn. Um, da, 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 da. What are company values and mission, whatever. If you can't get at all, just have an idea of the, you have general um, information, like a general job posting. If the company doesn't have a job posting, like how you look for a general job posting, you can use that same strategy. Just look for general things there, and then yeah, work towards that. Does that answer it or no?
yes, you did.
Okay, thank you. I think the next person is who? Aaron, and then Angela for the last person. Aaron, please, you're mobile, and Angela.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. My question is what is the impact of like your fluency and I mean eloquence in the interview? How well you're able to like present yourself? Does it have a lot of impact on their final decision? I mean, during the interview.
Yeah, that's right. It goes in line with something I wrote here that I skipped. I wanted to mention. So yes, it does. Yes and no. Um, Someone is talking about their boyfriend's place. Okay, you muted someone. So yeah, it does, but yeah, sometimes how you're able to articulate. So it's good to practice and be confident. So how you articulate. Sometimes you know the job, but if you don't articulate well, if you don't express yourself well, and some people also overexpress. You don't you don't go in a job interview and kind of show off. You lift your hands and I know how to do this. You know, and but sometimes, especially sometimes recruiters also consider their instincts, and if they are a church organization, they also consider the spirit. Someone you can tell the person isn't that articulate, but they have a good attitude. They are willing to learn. I was in an interview and someone and being honest, right? If you don't know about something, just say you don't know. Someone was like was about to say something, experience, and they just paused and they said, "I don't have any experience." And I was like, the person probably wanted to lie first, but they paused and now they want to be honest, right? And the person felt very very, inferior, right? But you could tell the person had a good attitude, they were willing to learn and things like that. So some companies may balance the two out. They look for people who are honest to, people who are willing to learn. But yeah, if you're really articulate, that helps in a job interview. And in a remote job interview, especially, and there's something I forgot I wanted to touch base on, your accent. Your accent really helps. Unfortunately, and that's kind of a struggle for Africans, especially West Africans, but we should work on that. We should work on our accent. When especially Bloom, when they are hiring for people in the United States, companies in the United States and companies in Canada and Europe. And the companies complain that it's hard for them to understand some people. So if they can't understand you well, it'll be hard for them to hire you. So Bloom has a high standard when it comes to accent. GMS, on the other hand, still has, but because they are trying to just help their students, like be a pathway student, it's a bit flexible. But that's why it's super hard to get a job with Bloom right now. But if you don't know, even GMS right now is helping their student, the work study participants, through a program called the English Chat Program. Once you are hired as a work study participant, as part of your employment, you go through an English chat training. You meet a native English speaker. Every week, you practice English speaking in a more friendly environment, but to improve your accent for better job opportunities. And you do that within the same working hours. So it's very interesting. So yeah, that's just by the way. Let's work on our accent. Let's articulate well. Let's have a good background. Let's never off our video. One thing, before I forget, people who off their videos in a remote job interview, consider yourself out. Your network is bad, it's even better than your video is off throughout. You just lost the job. Try to have a stable network, dress professionally, have a good background. And these are things that really count. I lost 2 promotions because of that. Me, myself. So, but it was unforeseen circumstances. I was somewhere, I remember one job interview, someone just enters the room. I just said, let me switch off my video and go to the next room. So that was like a year ago or 2 years ago. Anyway, so those things are very, very important that we don't see much in today's environment. If for any reason you can't show yourself, at least communicate to the interviewer, maybe before the interview starts. This happened, so I can't show myself. Or bare minimum during the interview, but I'll say just before it starts, the best practice. Okay, Obilo.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Brother Charles, for the wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, but you're a bit far.
Okay. I actually want to ask a question. There was a job I came across, and while filling the form, a picture was shown to me to identify who that person is. There was no name, no link, and I was kind of confused on how to answer that particular question. I don't know if you have an idea of what I should have done for that protection.
I can hardly hear you though.
Can you hear me?
It's hard.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, let's manage.
Okay. Okay, my question is, okay, I came across a question while applying for it. The question was, it was just a picture that was shown to me, and I was asked to identify who the person is. There was no link, no name in that question. What should I have done, or what should I do? Because I did not actually do anything on that particular question. go ahead.
Not really. Can you text that in the chat whilst I answer the question? So I'll get back to you on
Okay.
that. Okay. And my time is up, so I'm about to wrap up before Michael kills me. Let me look in the chat if I have some questions. Aaron, do you still have a question? If not, let's go to Mobile. Mobile dropped his hand. Mobile, please. You can go ahead and.
Yes. Yes. Sorry, I went off because of network. My question, if I joined not long ago, but it has to do with our qualifications. As we see this opportunity as in fact, an opportunity for us to excel and bring out our very best. Well, whilst we are pursuing educational qualifications and we have a job opportunities, and we want to, we wish the employer could consider our experience, relevant experience. I remember you said somewhere even any volunteering experience could also be considered. I think you said something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so that means sometimes we look at required so and so number of years, and it's quite intimidating. It's intimidating whenever we see that. But you are there to help us clarify that a bit. So, if regardless of what they are requesting, if we have any other experience that we think can be useful, can we go ahead with that?
Yeah, exactly. If it's something, you don't have to always meet the minimum years of experience to shoot. Sometimes, for example, my first job in a corporate environment was with Family Search International in the Africa West area. Just a quick one, I know my time is up, but they requested a degree at minimum, and I didn't have a degree then. I'd barely started my degree, and so I didn't want to apply. And another requirement was to know French, and the French was in red, was even in red, so more than the degree, and I didn't know French, right? So someone told me to apply, and I said, I'm not going to apply. But I tried with faith, put in some skills that are necessary, tailored to the role, went in, and I passed the, I guess the first screening was the resume, right? And I had to write an aptitude test, a test. So I went in, and I remember when I went there for the test, I almost gave up. I looked at everyone around and I said, what am I doing here? Because I see big older people with degrees, with HNE, they've gone to this number of university schools. And I was like, I probably should go back home, right? But to write the test, and I came out as the first in the aptitude test. We have over 60, right? And I got the job. So, like you're saying, and like I said, I know I'm saying that, and I have that experience now. So sometimes just have to have faith. Just go, just like I told, I think Amarachi earlier, the most important thing is to showcase that you have the capability to do the work, right? With power statement and with proof, with evidence, with fact. That's how you convince them. And if there's any test to showcase that. So yeah, sometimes it intimidates you. The only reason they put that is sometimes to ensure that they get the someone with enough experience, right? Yeah. So let's see. Aaron, okay, I think ADA, and then Aaron, you still have a question, is that correct or no? I think your hand is down. So ADA, then Angela, and then we'll just end here.
Ideas.
Okay. Idea is Ada. Or maybe Angela, shoot your Angela or Nelson, one of the two. Please go ahead and then we end here.
Sorry, my network locked me out, but I'm back again. Can I go on with my question, please?
Please, yes.
Okay, thank you. I said, what if someone applies for a job? This is a general question for everybody, and then we get denied. Should we still send a thank you message, even right in front of you? You were being told, I'm sorry, you're not qualified for this job. Should we still send a thank you message? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, actually, that's a good one. And yes, you should. Sometimes that alone, if you send a thank you note, and one thing is to say, thank you, can I know what I did wrong so that I can improve on? That's a good attitude. Okay. And, you remind if there's any opportunity later, can you please, I'll be available for reconsideration or something. Just have a very nice message that shows that you are very grateful and you want to improve and you want to learn. Maybe someone they thought they are going to hire something will come. Maybe that person can even reject the offer. Maybe the offer they gave them, they feel the rate is lower. Or something happens and they will go back to someone who wasn't hired. And it could be you because of your nice thank you message. If it has an impressing something on their mind or head. Yeah. So please, it's a good practice. Okay, Nelson. Angela, because time is up, since I know you personally, you can continue back end. Okay. Nelson, and then we end the call. Nelson.
Okay, thank you. So my question is with regards to the remote setup. Sometimes, recently I had an interview with a company like that for a remote job, and then I was asked if I have a remote setup in my home, if I have an uninterrupted power supply, a headphone for a customer service role, a dialer, and also a screen. So most times, we students, we are not able to, we don't have that. So should we project to the interviewers that yes, we do when we don't, or should we give them the hope of okay, we don't have at the moment, but we are making plans to get some of them.
Good question. It's something I usually share with people. Maybe in a time that in later time I can share that. But yeah, it's good to always be honest, right? Be honest with them. Sometimes I say, look, you want to lie, but then after that you pray and tell God to help you get a job. You lied, but I want God to help you. It doesn't go together, right? But if we say the truth and then we pray, we let them know, like you said, let them know that we are willing to do everything possible to get it. And we pray and we have faith that there's more power in that. The other thing I tell people is before you get that job, start preparing. Before I got this role, I always believe that after my work with Family Search, I want to work more remotely. I started preparing. I bought a home office. I bought an office desk. Even before I bought a bed that I could sleep on. My bed was on the floor and I had a home office set up. I had an office chair prepared. I started investing in. Now I have two screens. I have things like. So when I was going for this interview, I was privileged enough to say, have this, have that, have that. And the Lord also, you involve the Lord. So you do your part first by preparing before. Again, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? So that's why I love this quote. So it's the best to start preparing. If you have small money, you buy an interrupted supply. If you have small money, you buy a backup generator, those in Nigeria. Something like that to start preparing for these bigger opportunities. Luck is when preparation meets opportunities. But if you don't have, please try to be honest and give them the impression that you are willing to do that as soon as possible. And you have the means to do it. Now, like you go to a chapel, you show them alternative. There's a cafe nearby, there's a church, there's this, there's a friend, and then you are preparing towards that. Thank you all for participating today. I know it has taken a long time. Again, sorry, Michael, but the questions are also nice. I had to answer them. It was nice meeting with you, and I think my last session with you will be tomorrow. No, sorry, next week, same time, same link. And I hope to see you. Michael.
Oh, thank you, Frankson, Charles. Sorry, this is Tosin. Ime is currently in another meeting. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for all that you've shared with us today. And thank everyone for the contributions, the questions. And we look forward to having you again next week at the same time. Thank you very much, Charles. We really appreciate your time and your effort. Yeah. And we know the Lord will bless you for it. Thank you. So we've come to the end of today's meeting. So thank you very much. And bye. Okay, sorry. For Skep, I think we end with org or so. So let's do that before we leave. Can we all turn our camera so we can do that? So we embrace one another before we leave. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Those who are not Skep students,
Yeah.
this is the
Thank you.
is anyone taking a screenshot or something?
Oh yeah. So I will let me quickly do that. Sorry, I wasn't planning to be here.
Okay, nice.
Okay, I think I've done that. I've taken a screenshot. Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you next week.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.